What is up, Cowboys Nation? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching the video. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share. Had a great show last night with Jimmy D, talking a little bit about the Super Bowl, but also, getting into some other stuff. That's what it is in the offseason. You're just kind of like chilling, hanging with the crew, uh, talking other things outside of football. So it's always a good time. But more importantly, Thursday night, we are talking a two-time world champion of the Dallas Cowboys, James Washington. We're going to hear some stories about some championships because it's been too damn long in Dallas. So the offseason started. And make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share. Don't forget. But the offseason has started. So you got the rumors and you got this and, how are we going to get this team, to finally get over that hump. And you're looking at the roster. The roster looks pretty good. You look at, the Lions had the Niners up against the ropes. I mean, so everything was there in the take, and just to end, another disappointing year, another year to come up short, and so you try and figure out how can we correct this, how can we get these pieces together to finally get it going. And I think the one thing that we learned, and I think we knew it. I mean, I preached it a lot was Dak Prescott, and along with almost every quarterback that's not named Patrick Mahomes, they need help. And what I mean by that is they need help in the running game. And we did not have a solid, dependable running game this year. They moved on from Zeke, okay. Make Pollard the man who was always that kind of the Robin to the Batman, and he did a phenomenal job with that. And he kind of, all right, we're gonna make you the man, and I just don't know if he was built for that. And I just I think it was a bad decision. And I've said it a million times, and I'll stand by it. I think Pollard was better served as always being that second running back, and you need a workhorse. You need a guy that's going to just pound the rock in between tackles. So let Zeke go, which is all right, fine. Didn't replace him. A little bit of a problem. They had Ronald Jones early on, that knew that wasn't going to work out. You draft Deuce Vaughn, who really never got anything going, but he's a smaller guy. He's not going to be doing that. So leads you to the off season, and now we just got, hey, how do we get better? And the name that's popping up, he's in Dallas, I guess, working out a little bit. So the rumor mill's always going to start as Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry would, he'd check all those boxes that you'd want. And again, with Derrick Henry, you're not asking him to be a 25, 30 carry guy anymore. So you will have, a Robin to the Batman. You will have that number two running back, whether that be Pollard, probably not if you're going to bring in Henry, but you can draft a running back. I mean, we've seen the running backs go, and I'm not opposed to drafting running backs and saying he's the man, but all I know is, I said it last night on the show, I need a guy that I can depend on. I need a guy that I know that's been there, done that, and can, get the job done. If you want to draft a running back, great. And if he works out to be the man, then have at it. And we, let him be the starter down the road. It's fine. But I mean, looking at Henry, he had almost 1,200 yards, 4.2 yards a carry this past season, which they were not a very good football team. So that that can skew it a little bit. I mean, he had 3 100-yard games. He ran for 153, 122, 101, actually four, and then 102. So he had some numbers, and then he just had games where they just never really got the ball. Never really got the ball. So looking at his career. 1,500 yards in 22, had some injuries in 21, had just under 1,000, had this obviously the 2,000-yard season in 20, 1,500 yards here. He's been consistent. Now, what we'd say is you look at it and you say, all right, well, I'm seeing a trend, a Zeke trend is the yards per game has gone down 4 consecutive years. So that would be the concerning thing if you're looking at a Derrick Henry. It's like, all right, is this guy kind of starting to hit that wall? So that's something they got to consider. But there's other running backs out there. If Derrick Henry is not your cup of tea and you're worried about, I mean, Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is a guy that he's been the man in New York, had some injuries, but he's really hasn't really had that too much this, last few years. And again, what we're looking for is we're looking for a guy that's been there, done that. You can depend on, what you're going to get. And like I said, if you want to draft a running back in the mid rounds, they're always pretty deep. You can do that. Excuse me one second. Get my cup of coffee. But that's what I'd like to see. I just, the season ends so disappointing, and you look at it and you're like, man, bringing back McCarthy, which I was fine with. Obviously, Dax, he's your quarterback. Dan Quinn, you don't know what's going to happen. You just feel like something's got to change. Something's got to change. And to me, maybe it's time for Dan Quinn to go. Hopefully he gets a job. We heard all those things last year with Kellen Moore. Oh, the offense is going to suck. Kellen Moore's gone. McCarthy's going to get exposed. Da, da, da. McCarthy ended up having one of the best offenses in the NFL. So I don't know. If that's so true. And I was listening to Law Nation, and there was, he was saying that there's people on the defense that just aren't all in on Quinn. Just feels like they're not, the scheme isn't working best for their skill set and for what they want to do. So I don't know. You're seeing Parsons, his numbers decline throughout the season. So is Quinn doing the best to get him in positions to not get that wear and tear on his body? I said it last night, is maybe this team is, if you got Parsons and you're building them around him, maybe you run a 3-4. Maybe, you got Parsons on the outside. If Sam Williams can get his head right, he's a speed guy on the other side. Those are your linebackers. You got Tank, who can be on that line, on the 3 line. You probably need to get a big, Tony Siragusa type if you wanna try and do that. I forgot the other guy that was in New England that was really big. Not Vince Wilfork, but you could say Wilfork. He would be one too. You get a guy like that, and you just have to build it up through free agency and draft. But you can do it, and if that's the kind of, if we want to take advantage of Parsons and keep him going, and people compare him to LT, well, that's what LT did. That's the defense that they ran. Look at DeMarcus Ware in the 3-4 in Dallas, and look at the 20 sacks, 18 sacks. He was a wrecking machine. So they got to look at that. So maybe a new set of eyes in there may be able to help it. So we'll see what happens. I got a feeling that everyone's coming back. I think Quinn's going to end up coming back. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But for me, it's like I said, if you want to get pumped up, you're going to get excited. I got to see some moves this offseason. I know they love to do things through the draft, and hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you miss on the draft, it kills your team. And it kills the depth. And I know they put a lot of pressure on these draft picks. We saw with Jalen Tolbert. I mentioned that, a couple years ago, they trade away Amari Cooper. You saw it last year. You got everything on Mozzie. You got everything on you draft Schoonmaker, which he didn't do anything. So, when you strike out on the draft, it kind of kills a lot of your team. So they've got to address it through free agency. And it doesn't have to be big name, big money guys. It's got to be guys that to me won championships or been part of championship teams, and also just just all they care about is football. Like I said, the only analogy I could use, and I use it 100 times, I love Rocky, like a Clubber Lang. The guy, in the basement, busting his ass. He's not at the fancy hotels working out, getting ready for the big fight. He's a dog, and that's what this Cowboys team needs, is in that culture of the locker room, they need more dogs. So we'll see. Derrick Henry's a dog. I'll say that. Derrick Henry's a guy that is a tone setter. So they get a guy like a Derrick Henry that's a punishing running back. He's 30. We talked about that. That's the part you just got to kind of see where the market is. We saw what the market was for running backs this offseason. There wasn't much. Those guys were not able to demand a lot of money, but I will say running back is so critical to the success of Dak Prescott. That's my opinion. He's not a guy, and there's, again, Patrick Mahomes, probably one of the only few that can carry a team with everything, and he has a running game. Pacheco shows up in the playoffs, so I don't even want to say he doesn't have a running game, but Dak Prescott needs that running game. He needs that balance. You don't want him throwing the ball 50 times a game. You don't want all the pressure onto him. So they're going to have to do it. That's a top priority. That linebacker. Those are the two positions, and we'll talk about it more this offseason, that they've got to get done. So, hey, again, I appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit the like. I got this sitting on my desk. When we get to 3,000 subscribers, that is signed by Bob Lilly, Mr. Cowboy. Interviewed him in the cave. A really cool Funko Pop that it looked good in your Cowboys cave. Got that sign. We're going to do a giveaway when we hit 3,000 subscribers. I told you before, 5,000 subscribers, you're going to be hanging out at AT&T. You got 2 tickets, my seats. I don't know if you're going to take me or not, but you got your choice. You got 2 tickets to go to a Cowboys game. If we can get to 5,000 before next season, we'll definitely pick a game there. And then finally, we got like I said, we can't win the championship, but I'm going to bring champions to you. We had Tony Thrill Hill last week. If you missed that, get through the first part. He had some technical issues with audio, but once we got that cleaned up about 5 minutes in, he was dynamite, man. He brought the passion. It was one of my favorite interviews. And then this Thursday, we got James Washington, nicknamed Drive By. He was a killer, stone cold killer on the field. He used to lay people out, but he was just a playmaker, part of those 2 back-to-back championship teams. Really probably could argue that he should have won the Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 28, but they gave it to my man Emmitt Smith, so I can't hate too much, but he'll be in the cave. We're going to have some great stories, and we're working on some other interviews, some other Super Bowl champions, some other national champions, so it's going to be a fun time. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe. Make sure you hit that little like button, share it, spread the word. Everyone knows the Cowboys Cave is bringing it, and we want you guys to be part of it. It's what we do. So you guys have a great day, and hopefully do not miss Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you. Bye. Let me see. I'm working on my exit. Sorry, look at that. There we go. See ya.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.